So we've taken a look at the basics of doing socket programming in C. We've kind of got a good understanding now of TCP socket programming, how the connections work, and how we can send messages back and forth on the sockets. So let's just quickly do a quick recap of what we've looked at in the two lessons so far. So this is kind of the basic two workflows that we looked at for TCP clients and TCP servers. Sockets are the basis of our network communications, and with TCP, this is the commonly used protocol across the web for most of our operations. Our web browsing uses TCP, and that's how your web browser requests data from a particular web server. TCP is the base protocol, but on top of it is HTTP, the protocol that specifies what data should be in the messages that we send back and forth. An HTTP server sends a response to a client, which first has to send a request containing a particular method and some header information, and then the server will respond back with data, as we saw in both the HTTP client that we built and the HTTP server that we built. So these workflows hold true across the board for making connections on the client and server side. So while we looked at just implementing the basics, there's a lot more in depth we can go with socket programming in terms of implementing particular protocols. But as far as the API goes, most of that stays the same with whatever you want to implement. If you're looking for more information about how to implement a particular protocol, you can look at the links that are there on the right, or just do a Google search for RFC 2616. This is the actual specification document that is comprehensive and contains everything about the HTTP protocol in case you want to implement a full-featured HTTP server. But the basis of it will still be the same. You'll still use the same socket calls and commands to connect to a particular IP and port, using the socket functions, creating a socket, and then sending or receiving data on one side or the other of the socket connection. For more information about the socket functions themselves, you can, on your Linux machine, if you're using Linux, look at any of the following manual pages by using the man command. There's one for socket, and then the send and receive commands, but also the bind, connect, accept, and listen commands that we looked at. If you type in a manual page for any one of the socket commands that we've looked at, you'll get a really detailed, comprehensive piece of information about everything that can be used in that function, all of the arguments, and some just more drilled down information about how to use those functions and the different things, like, for instance, the flags that we weren't using on send and receive commands. So that's basically all we're going to look at for our socket programming course. And like we said, for further information, there's resources here in case you want to go more in depth about any of the higher level concepts that we've talked about. So that's it.